Okay. Today we will cover the second chapter of F1. Second chapter, that is organizational structure. We have discussed earlier what do we mean by organization, and we saw that we are surrounded by different kinds of organization, right? So today we actually look forward, or we try to make ourselves clear how the organization actually is structured. That is structural differences. Today we discuss about the structural differences of different kind of organization. Okay, so structure. What do we mean by this? Structure is the base, right? In the case of organizational structure, here structure means you can say organogram, or you can say how the organizational authority and responsibility actually delegated, or even you can imagine the different level of managerial post, or you can imagine how the organization actually activated, or you can think about how the order actually flows in between the people, or how the instruction actually flows from the top level to lower level, or how the information actually flows from the top to bottom or bottom to top. So this is actually organizational structure. Depend upon differences, we'll discuss different types of structure. Initially, we'll discuss number one, that is entrepreneurial. Entrepreneurial structure. What do you mean by this? Entrepreneurship. You are very much renowned, right? You are very much familiar with these kinds of word, entrepreneurship. There is some specific individual because of his expertise in some area, right? Or with some expert knowledge, he can start any kinds of business, or he can step forward, right? That means he involve himself in doing some specific things. That is entrepreneurship. So in the case of entrepreneurial structure, we actually think about these kinds of business. That is, an entrepreneur take the initiative because of his own skills and knowledge, do something. Here, the fact is, and this is the initiative by individual. This is the earliest stage of organizational development. Here, the structure actually, to take the initiative, is called the owner manager, and the total organization actually surrounded by this owner manager, right? The owner manager here invests all kinds of capital needed by the business organization. All kinds of liability by the business organization is shared by the owner, right? And owner manager, he himself take all kinds of decisions. Nobody other have the authority to take the decision. So this is the very smaller and smaller size of business, and you can say this is the earliest stage of development, right? This is ownership. Entrepreneurial structure. Now, in the structural cases or in the structural differences, we need to focus also the advantages and disadvantages of different structure, because you guys can expect different kinds of question regarding advantage and disadvantage. So, entrepreneurial structure is clear. Now the fact is we need to know the advantage of this structure and disadvantage. Initially, that done, focus on the advantages. Here, the individual is responsible to operate the business. He himself take all kinds of decisions. All the employees are surrounded. All the employees actually are just around that owner manager. So you can find out some advantages. Number one, as the one individual is taking all kinds of decisions, that means decision can be taken in a short period of time, right? Advantage. owner and employees, gap between owner and employees are very little in comparison to other kinds of structure. So owner can maintain tight control over the employees. Tight control. One individual, depend upon his own expertise and knowledge, he actually take the initiative to build up the structure, build up the organization. That's why the organization is goal congruence, goal focused, specific goal focused, goal or a specific objective focused, right? Easily market responsive. That means any kinds of changes occurred in the market as the owner manager taking all kinds of decisions in a short period of time. So you can say this is market responsive. So these are the advantages of entrepreneurial structure, right? There are some disadvantages as well. We need to know that also. Number one, here there is no sort of career path for the employees. Employees cannot be think himself that once upon a time he will be promoted as the manager or he will be promoted as the owner. Not that. Here, the employees do not have any career path because the structure is very limited. First disadvantage. Then second disadvantage. Here, all the decision is taken by individual, one individual, depend upon his own expertise and knowledge, right? So it may be possible that in some cases the changes is such that which is not copable or the individual expertise is not that much to cope with the changes. In that case he can take wrong decision, right? So wrong decision may be there. And another important thing is it is not possible that an individual will be well in all the subject or all the areas. So lack of knowledge may be there. Lack of expertise may be there, right? And the most disadvantage, this is not totally supportive in the case of outgrown the business or in the case of diversification of the business. You can think for a little business, little organization, right? So these are the main disadvantages. Clear? Okay. Now the fact is, suppose, think yourself. You are expert in doing some specific thing, that's why you take the initiative to start a business. You are operating the business, an organization is there. What is entrepreneurial structure? Now, you are doing very well in the market. Your business is growing, right? We have already discussed that these structures support a smaller amount of business organization. As you are growing faster in the market, it may not be possible to go with these kinds of structure. So you need another kinds of structure to support your business which is more flourished, more nourished, or which is already outgrown than your entrepreneurship. Clear? Okay. So in that case, you need another kinds of structure to support your organization. That is called functional structure. Number 2. Functional structure. Functional structure. Functional. You can also differentiate this function, or you can say departments. That means just initially look forward the structure. That is board of directors, top level management. Then under them there are several kinds of functions, as for example finance, production, sales, admin, HR, different kinds of functions are there. If you look forward the structure, right? Your business is already flourished. So when you have to deal with a large volume business, it is totally impossible for one individual to support or to look forward every corner of the business, right? Because the volume of business. That's why to make support or to provide support the outgrown or support the voluminous business, organization need to group or categorize its activity depends upon some specific group or depends upon some logical group. Logical group means here the organization actually try to make its total activities differentiated, depend upon some logical group. As for example, finance, it's a group function. There is all the individual here, they will focus only doing the finance related activity. They will not involve themselves in producing some things or selling the specific product. Grouping. Production. All the individual involved here, they will focus only to produce the things, not program that. Sales. Their main activity is to promote their product or service they are generating. That is sales promotion. So here, and board of directors is also there. Board of directors at this managerial level, they are the decision maker. They are taking the decision of a strategic level. They are making some specific decision and as well as planning. And depend upon that, all the activities are grouped according to logic, right? An individual who is a special or who has expertise in doing that kinds of activities, they are involved in doing that function. So that's why, because of the function, this structure is called functional structure. Clear? Now, it is obvious that you can say this is the second phase of entrepreneurial structure, right? Initiative, take the initiative. Now you have to support voluminous business. Then you create functional structure. But we need to find out, or we need to discuss about the advantages and disadvantages of this structure as well. First of all, advantage. Whatever the disadvantage we discussed in the case of entrepreneurial structure, to overcome those disadvantages, we create functional. So if you are very much clear, then it is very much easy to memorize this. First of all, see, individual is involving in doing some specific activity. Specific. That means when you are involved in doing some specific activity in repetitive nature, it is obvious that once upon a time you become the master, you become the specialist, right? So the individual here, with repetitive nature of work, they become a specialist in doing that kinds of activity, which is called economies of scale, and even you can say this is efficiency. Because of these kinds of things, individual can be efficient or effective in doing his own job. That's why organizational productivity, it helps organizational productivity. So we can say advantage means specialization, right? Create specialist, economies of scale, creating efficiency. These are the advantages. Then, as the business is outgrown, business is voluminous, there are several kinds of functions, several ladder of managerial post. So here the employee can expect a specific career path. Another advantage. Okay. But disadvantages are also there. We need to focus on that. Disadvantages. Normally, each function is activated, or each function is one individual is responsible. Suppose this is called manager, financial manager, production manager, then sales manager. An individual is there who is responsible to operate that specific function, right? Okay. So normally who are called managers. Now the fact is, we are discussing. Now, the fact is, as the individual is responsible to operate his own business, his own function, it may be possible, that is, as they are operated by the individual, human being, it may be possible that there will be no sort of coordination. And if there is no sort of coordination in between the function, in that case, the organizational goal cannot be achieved. This is the disadvantage. Then another disadvantage, normally it is human nature, that is human being always try to build up his own power, right? So this manager, his main task or main focus is to enhance the productivity or enhance the activity, finance related activity. So he always focusing doing the finance related activity, and he always try to maintain his power on that. This manager also try to maintain his power in the organization. So there may be chaos in between the managers, which is called empire building. That is, each individual actually try to build up his own power within the thing. That's why it creates there will be dissimilarities, there will be no sort of coordination between the function. In that case, organizational objective cannot be achieved. So these are the disadvantages. Then another disadvantage we look forward. Suppose you are dealing with, or you are the manufacturer of these kinds of pen. So when you are dealing with a single amount of product, single product in Khulna region, then this structure is okay. Now you are deciding to produce, or you are deciding, now you have decided to publish book as well. Initially you produced pen, now you are deciding to publish book. Well, book and pen is not the same. So the same structure you build up previously, it will not support your new business, right? So this is not supported in the case of market diversification. Generate more product. Even think about, now you are doing business in Khulna market. You take a decision to enhance your business in Dhaka market as well. Dhaka market and Khulna market are not the same. So the same structure will not be activated there. So these kinds of structure is activated or fruitful only for a single product in a stable market. It will not support if in the case of diversification, right? So these are the disadvantages of functional organization. So now if you want to overcome this disadvantage, what do you mean by this? That is, now you are dealing with one product. You are deciding to generate more different kinds of product. You are deciding to take advantage with line of product or channel of product. In that case, you need different kinds of structure. The structures that now we are going to deal with, one is, this is number 3, that is divisional structure. Divisional structure. See the structure? Suppose board of director. Under the board of director, as for example, initially you are manufacturing pen, right? Now you are deciding that with manufacturing the pen, you also want to do some transport business, right? Transport business. The same function may not be activated for each kinds of business. We have already said that is, it will not, the functional structure will not be supported in the case of diversification. That's why some functional structure will be under initial business and some functional structure will be under new business. You are saying this is division 1 and this is division 2, right? Each individual division has their own structure, has their own functional structure as well. Production, sales. Here, production, sales as well, right? So, to overcome the lackings of functional structure, that is to support the diversification, we can go for divisional structure. In divisional structure, these divisional structures support us to deal with different kinds of product at the same time. Clear? So advantage is very much clear, but what will be the disadvantage? Disadvantage here is that there are several divisions, but some functions are there where the people are activated or where the people provide service internally as a single unit. As for example, see, accounts, HR, these are the two functional departments who actually act for both the divisions. Normally, organization will not create HR for each division. HR is activating as a central division. He is providing support or he is providing service as a kind of central function, and he is providing service of the divisions. Accounts is just like that, right? So cost is there, and it is problematic initially to find out how this cost will be charged for these two divisions, because these functions or these functional departments are working or providing service both the division. So it is initially the problem, that is how this cost should be charged in between these two divisions. This is the main problem. Then there will be some other problem. As there are several divisions, it may be possible with the top level manager will just focus on making the decision or strategic planning. There will be less control in between this function and top level management. There is less in the control. And as the ladder is there, as the organization is growing, there may be bureaucratic problem. So these are the disadvantages. Okay, then in the case of divisional structure, we try to focus how we can deal with the different kind of products, right, or different kind of service. Now think yourself, you want to grow your business in different geographical locations, Dhaka, Chittagong, Khulna, right? So we can think for another structure, which is called geographical structure. Initially we are thinking about different kinds of product, means different kinds of division, D1, D2, D3. Now in exchange of D1, D2, D3, we can build up a structure for Dhaka. We can build up a structure for Khulna. That is, for different geographical location, we can set up a different level of managerial post as well as functional. So we are dealing the same kinds of product, but we are dealing in different geographical location. That is called geographical structure. Clear? So in the case of geographical structure, we can overcome different kinds of lackings that we are facing earlier. But problem is also there. Problem means as you are expanding the business, you are losing the control over the business. The central manager losing the control over the business. And whatever the disadvantage we also already discussed in the case of divisional purpose or divisional structure, those all disadvantages also followed by geographical structure. Then the last one, which is called matrix structure. Matrix. Number 4. Matrix structure. Matrix structure, you can say this is the combination of both functional and divisional structure. Suppose, normally think yourself. An accident was committed. Suppose a railway accident was committed. To find out the reason why the accident was committed, government can create a specific committee. Right? Who are the committee members? Suppose the committee head actually comes from finance, railway department. Then some other member comes from engineering department. Some other member comes from some other production department or some other department as well. Right? So normally when we think about the committee has a specific kind of objective, a specific kind of purpose. To doing that objective, committee can be comprised or composed of people from different division as well as different function. Suppose you have an organization. You have an organization, there are 3 divisions. Suppose as for example, division 1, division 2, suppose. Function, production, finance. So you create a committee here, as for example. The member of this committee, see, the member of this committee, they come from both D1 and production, right? So this is the combination of division and functional structure, right? So we can add up all the advantages in both the case of functional basis and divisional basis, right? And this is more customer responsive. That's why committee is good. But the fact is, the disadvantage is here, the individual who is responsible to do some specific activity in this position, he have to report both the manager of division 1 as well as the manager of production. That means there may be vagueness or unclarity to whom the report should be provided, to whom the solution to be, from whom the solution to be given and taken, right? So there may be problem of this kind. So this is all about practice structure, different kinds of business structure, organizational structure. Clear? Okay. Now we will look forward some other important topics of organizational structure. Number 1, ownership and MGT management. কয়টা বাজে? একটু বসো। Ownership and management. When you are thinking about organization, for large organization, as for example, suppose limited liability company, you know the initial structure, how the structure actually comprised by the organization initially issues some shareholders are owners, but they are not operating the business. The fact is, when you are thinking about the large business organization, within the large organization, ownership and management is not doing by the same people. Who are the owner of the business, they are not managing the business or they are not operating the business. The fact is, organization initially issue number of shares for build up the capital structure. So who purchase the share by providing the capital, they become the owner of the company, right? So there are a number of shareholders, but shareholder they are not operating the business. On behalf of them, they elect some specific individual who called board of directors. The board of directors actually operate the business, right? So there is a big difference between owners and managers. Who are owner, they are not operating the business, and who are operating the business, they are not the owner. Even some cases, the board of directors may be shareholders. Clear? Okay. So the fact is, here is the problem. Owner, they invest their money, right? So they always try to have return against that. They always focus how they can have the return from that, right? But who are operating the business? Manager. That's why it is possible or it is simple that owners actually maintain different kinds of safeguard for their own betterment. Safeguard, that is, manager will always do their activity or always operate the business on the benefit, on the best for the owners. right? Not for their own purpose. So there will be several kinds of safeguards we will discuss later. Now, another thing is to we'll discuss scalar chain and span of control. Span of control. One is scalar chain, another is span of control. These are the two terms related to the business operation. One is a scalar chain. You can say the number of level within the managerial post. Chairman, board of director, managing director, managers, then supervisors. So there are different kinds of structure, right? How the roles actually, or how the information actually, or how the instruction actually follow from top to bottom. There are several layers. You can say several managerial layers, which is called scalar chain. So the chain may be just like this one, only two level, right? Even the scalar chain may be just like this one. So you can say this is wide scalar chain and this is tall structure. This is tall structure, this is wide. In the case of tall structure, there will be several number of position, several number of organizational level, right? In the wide structure, there will be lesser number of organizational level. This is scalar chain. Span of control. The span of control represent the number of employees for whom an individual is responsible for. Suppose, as for example, you are the manager of a business organization. Under you, there are 4 employees. 4 employees are there who follow your instruction. So your span of control is on 4 employees. So a span of control represents the number of employees on which or on whom an individual is responsible for. Right? Now, you need to know these span of control actually depends upon several factors, several criteria. Depend upon several criteria, this span of control actually may be increased or it may be reduced. Think yourself. Assembly workers, that means who actually assemble or who actually deal with the operation, right? Normally, assembly works require same kinds of skill and same kinds of knowledge. So one supervisor is there who is responsible for a number of assembly workers. So we are discussing the several kinds of factors that will affect the span of control to be increased or to be decreased. Number one, the nature of the work. If the work is such that it requires same kinds of knowledge and same kinds of expertise, in that case it is possible the span of control will be wider. As for example, under a supervisor there are number of workers. Why? Because workers need same kinds of activities or same kinds of knowledge. Okay? Then number 2. Supervisor, right? If the supervisor is huge amount of knowledgeable people, then he can maintain number of people. But if the supervisor do not have that much capability, that much knowledge, that much skill, in that case he may not be responsible or he may not be provided responsible to control number of people. So depend upon the individual criteria. Individual span of control may be wider, may be narrower. Then location. If there is a small amount of, tiny amount of distance between the controller and the employees, then the controller may have number of span of control. But if there is a big difference, that is, suppose you are the supervisor, you need to supervise some individual who are acting in field area. huge amount of distance. In that case, under you there will be lesser number of span of control. Clear? So knowledge and expert is required by the controller. Knowledge and expertise of individual work, nature of the work, and distance between the controller and the employees. So these are the several criteria which can affect to change your span of control. Clear? Okay. Then, end of the day, there are some relationship between this span of control and initial scalar chain. See? This is short business. In comparison to this structure, you can say this is tall structure and this is wide structure, right? If your scalar chain means number of managerial posts. Here the number of managerial posts is increased, but here the number of managerial posts is decreased. With the wider structure, your span of control increase. But with the tall structure, your span of control decrease. So there is a relationship between span of control and scalar chain. Clear? Okay. The last one of this discussion is centralization and decentralization. Centralization and decentralization. Centralization. See, you can imagine the organizational structure is just like the pyramid. At the topmost position on nadir, there are one individual who is responsible. And as you go beneath, number of people will increase. That's why the structure is just like the pyramid. In the case of centralization structure, all the decision, the strategic planning is taken by the top level managers. And this instruction actually followed by the lower level. So here the information actually go top to bottom. Bottom level manager do not have any kinds of authority to take part in decision making. They just are the followers. Centralization. And this kind of structure actually maintains strict control over the lower level managers. The lower level manager just have to follow the instruction of the top level blindfolded. Clear? Decentralization. On the other case is decentralization. Decentralization is just like this one. Normally, strategic planning and decision is taken by the top level managers. But the recommendation actually comes from lower level. That means from the workers who are activating themselves or who are acting in the field level, marginal employees. So here the marginal employees take part in decision making. How? They are not the decision maker. They are recommending. That's why they feel themselves motivated that we are an important part of the business operation. And this is the main advantage of decentralization. Here the lower level employees, they are demoralized. That we just have to follow the rules or we just have to follow the instruction. We are not very much important part of the organization. That's why you cannot take part in the decision making. But when the lower level is or have the authority to take part in the decision, they feel themselves loyal, they feel themselves moral, they feel themselves important for the business organization. And they can take part in the decision making. How? They just provide recommendation. But at the end of the day, the main decision is taken by the top level management. But the information actually go from bottom to top. That's why this is called decentralization. There is also disadvantage. You need to know that. Disadvantage means here the recommendation comes from the lower level. Just think yourself. Here, now you are seeing 3 to 5 people, right? If I ask you what will be the time of this class, what will be the suitable time of this class. Each individual will provide a specific time depending upon his own benefits. So there will be chaos. So when the decision actually comes from the lower level, it may be possible there may be chaos. It may be possible these people are not that much capable, or these people are not that much skilled and knowledgeable. So decision or recommendation comes from these people may not be fruitful for the business strategic objective or strategic goal. So these are the disadvantages in the case of decentralization. So this is the normal scenario of organizational structure. You just have to go through it. But focus to find out the advantage and disadvantage of each individual structure, what we discussed in classes. Okay? So thank you.